So here's the TV.
Oh, great. Okay. It's a good idea to give the customer the full information package before you start the work. Give them the protection plan brochure and explain that it guarantees future service calls at no charge. Also, give them the IRD user's manual ahead of time and let them know you'll show them how to use the system later on. The site survey makes or breaks a job. The locations of the TVs are critical. Explain to your customer that you will be doing an inside and outside site survey and that you'll need them to join you to review your installation plan before doing any work. When conducting the inside site survey, you need to determine how the equipment is currently configured, determine if there's a working telephone connection in close proximity to the receiver, and if not, how you will get a telephone connection to that location. In some cases, you may need to install a telephone outlet. Determine what obstructions may be along the walls that would prevent you from routing cable and phone line. Determine the way the TV set is currently connected to a program source. After completing the inside site survey, you'll need to complete an exterior site survey. First, determine where and how you can ground the system. One of the most common mistakes new technicians make is to put the ODU close to the TVs. The ground location is actually more important. The ground block has to be within 20 feet of the ground source. You can remember it this way: ground rules. The preferred ground source is the one that is accessible and is external on the electrical meter base. Another option would be grounding to the electrical conduit or raceway at the meter base. The third option would be grounding to the meter base pan. The fourth option would be grounding to a suitable cold water pipe that meets the National Electric Code standards. Once you've determined where and how you will ground the system, you can select a location for the ODU. A suitable ODU site requires a stable mounting surface, a distance of 125 feet or less for RG6 cable from your antenna to your receiver. Certainly, the most important consideration is line of sight. Good line of sight requires an elevation angle clearance above the horizon, an 18-degree span clearance in the southern sky from 101 to 119 for an view of all three satellite locations. This means there can be no trees, leaves, or buildings in the line of sight between the antenna and the satellites. If possible, it's a good idea to allow for an extra 10 degrees of unrestricted view on either side of the required 18-degree window. This provides some leeway and helps to eliminate the possibility of any future obstructions. A common error is not estimating future construction, foliage that appears in the spring, and future tree growth. The two tools that you'll find extremely useful in verifying a line of sight would be a compass and an inclinometer. I'm always amazed at how many techs don't have these. Sure, most of us have a pretty satellites are, but anytime you've got trees or hills or other obstructions, you run the risk of installing the ODU in a bad location. Let's take a closer look at these tools. Most installers use an inclinometer compass combination like this one to determine the azimuth and elevation for aligning an ODU. A compass is used to find the azimuth from the home to the satellite. An inclinometer indicates the degree of elevation from a specific location to a satellite. Remember, we need a plus or minus 10-degree window in both azimuth and elevation. Standing near where the ODU will be mounted, determine the azimuth to the satellite using the compass. Next, use the inclinometer to determine the elevation in degrees. While looking through the inclinometer, keeping both eyes open, tilt your body back until the scale displays the elevation setting you received from the menu. The readings you need to be looking at are on the left side of the scale. A compass and an inclinometer will help you do your job better and faster. Once you've determined where you can put the ODU, you need to decide how and where you'll be routing the cables from the ODU to the receiver. When routing cables, route them as cleanly as possible. Remember, the less you see of the install, the better. When doing the site survey, you should be looking for places to route cables that are not only out of sight, but are protected. You also need to consider the type of construction of the residence. Is it built on a concrete slab? Does it have a crawl space? Is there a basement? Is there an attic? If there is an attic, is there access to that space? If the home is built on a slab and there is no attic or access under it, the cable should be routed through the wall so it is at the same level as the other receptacles on the wall. Keep in mind the distance of the TV to the outside wall. If the house is built over a basement or crawl space, you can always get to the first floor TVs through the floor. If the customer has an attic, you can also feed cables through there and behind the TV set to keep them hidden. On the interior of the home, plan on running the phone lines with the RG6 cable to the receiver at the same time. Remember, phone line connections are mandatory for every receiver installed in the home, not just the primary. Once you've completed your interior and exterior site survey, it's time to inform the customer in detail how we're going to do the job.
I finished the site survey. Could I ask you to come outside right now and I'll show you how I'm going to route the cables?
Sure. This is really important for customer satisfaction. And it's actually a time saver for us because the customer won't be surprised by anything at the end of the job and ask us to do it over.
And then I'm going to ground your system to this electrical box right here.
It's a good idea to show them where the ground wire will go. Let them know it'll be green and it's a requirement of the National Electric Code. You might think we put a lot of time into this job before we ever even picked up a tool, but this is how the pros do it. And don't forget, this is the customer's home. It's another job for us, but it's intensely personal for them. Managing the customer with courtesy and sensitivity is every bit as important as your technical skill.